bullets in your face, bullets in your face, bullets in your face right now.
Asking for like social media management, and obviously that was kind of like dipping our toes really into like Facebook and the world of Facebook and proper digital media stuff, really, digital marketing stuff. And yeah, and then sort of slowly but surely that kind of took over. And at that point, we were really not concentrating on like ad side of stuff. But actually a client actually brought it to our front and our attention. And then that's sort of something we slowly started moving into. And funny enough, our first guy was actually like a comedian, based in Africa, of all things. But yeah, so we started off there really. And then sort of slowly but surely really, we sort of tailed away a little bit further from, you know, all the peripheral stuff and really focused on Facebook ads. And then we found ourselves again in a bit of a situation where we didn't have any, you know, particular niche. And that was obviously becoming a bit of a problem because it meant that every time that we picked up a new client, it meant that we were having to like learn the whole system all over again. You know, the best copy, the best creative, the right audiences, targeting, that kind of thing, etc. So this was like, as I say, becoming a bit of an issue. And like I said, at that point, we're dealing with like construction sites, plumbers, a couple of e-commerce stores, no coaches actually, but it was literally all over the place. And then we started to actually focus more into like e-commerce, and that did really well. We really enjoyed that, but we were finding that it was something that we didn't enjoy as much as like we hoped to enjoy. If that makes any sense?
Right. Yeah, no,
yeah. So then we kind of thought we've done a bit of lead gen work within like, you know, within that period of time, obviously, more like local lead gen stuff. And e-com, we just found it was getting a bit, it wasn't tedious, it was just becoming a more competitive market to get those clients that we were after. Yeah. So after a little time, we kind of, you know, at the end of the day, I suppose it's about money as well as something you enjoy. So we sort of put the two together and decided that we were going to focus on two markets, and that was lawyers and accountants. And my wife's actually an accountant, so that was a no-brainer. I did only 1 year of law at Open University, so that was the other no-brainer. So then, yeah, we essentially started to sort of focus on law firms in the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK. So that's kind of where we are with it at the moment. Do you reckon that AI may be the demise of many digital marketers?
It changes the landscape, and yes, to an extent, yeah. I mean, you know, I think we underestimate sometimes we underestimate what AI is capable of and overestimate what it is capable of in various instances. Mm-hmm. But the one that I think it certainly already is doing reasonably well at, one is gaming our emotions. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's getting a little scary to the point, you know, where like, you know, an AI bot with a camera can tell you all kinds of things about you. Right, by your facial expression. Like they're better at detecting micro expressions and all kinds of things about you that we don't even detect from each other. And then, you know, as this technology gets good with contextual language, is essentially able to start writing the copy and experimenting copy by itself, and then determining what is the winner. Yeah, I think that there always is, but that said, you know, that technology will always spew out a certain consistency with what it creates. Yeah, I think. And, you know, I don't know that, you know, it has the creative capacity that humans have. No. And people will always want to stand out in a way it's like, okay, if that's what everyone's doing, how can I do something different? And so to that extent, there's always going to be a role. I mean, we play a fundamental role in business, as far as I'm concerned, and in life in a way. Like, we facilitate communication and connections, and that is a human. Like, that's the thing, is you'll never remove the human out of the equation. At some point, you know, even if you're just trying to sell to people, it's not going to be bots to bots.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, actually, I was speaking to my wife about this, and she's an accountant, and there's so many like new softwares that's making things automated. And she works for a big corporate company, and even them, they are suggesting, you know, like, oh, hypothetically, you could be out of a job in 10 years, etc., etc. But, and I don't mean illegal creative accounting, but I just mean there's always a need for creativity. And I think well, maybe down the line AI can do that, but I think, you know, we're talking a hell of a long way off from having creative thought, because AI at the moment can't inspire thought from nowhere. It has to have a sense of logic, and it has to have a source. You know, the information has to come from a source. And I appreciate that AI systems, especially maybe Facebook, are reading lots of different characteristics and interests of people, but that still doesn't really sort of create creativity, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's too, like, I mean, what the human brain, like the number, how much, what we're capable of, and the computational sort of efficiency of the human brain is still light years ahead of this technology. The analogy that I use for where we're at with technology, I said we're at horse. And the reason why I say that is that there's this very famous psychology study of this horse that everybody was like convinced that he could count. And so, and even the trainer, the owner, was like, this is a brilliant horse. And so they sent a whole bunch of psychologists who were very curious, like, can this horse really count? And what they realized through various sort of control testing was that, in fact, the horse was picking up on micro gestures of the trainer, so that when he hit the number, it's like, you know, like count to 10, and he would clop, 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 right to 10. And then when he hit 10, you know, the 10, a slight gesture in the trainer's face indicated to the horse that he was done. And they figured it out that that's what he was picking up.
Yeah.
So similarly, very recently, they created this little like robot that was an AI bot, and it had sort of 4 arms. And they're like, they sent it with a mission, like, learn how to walk. Yeah. And it does. And then they chop off one of its arms, and they're like, okay, learn again, adapt your learning. So they plugged it into this, they're monitoring it, preparing it for a demo. And then so they can kind of visualize what its neural net looks like. Yeah. And they're like, oh, there's all this concentration around this node. What is it doing? Well, the robot had figured out that by training its cameras on the experimenters' faces, that was a hugely valid data point for whether it was acting successfully or not. And so it had written its own subroutine to assess the faces of the experimenters.
So it was almost
doing what the horse did.
I was going to say, it's basically picking up the same kind of instincts that the horse had. Yes,
exactly. So that's where I'm saying, like, that's a good like gauge of like what I've seen the technology AI be capable of doing at its sort of highest form, and you know, like a comparable animal and experiment that sort of shows at what level it's at. So that's why I say we're at horse. We're not human yet. But I have said many times that, you know, I've got a video out there like, you're going to lose your jobs. A lot of people, a lot of industries are going to be changed, and I think a lot of, you know, and it's especially in pattern work. It's actually the middle class jobs. I say it's like, you know, if you're somebody who's in the medical industry who only like analyzes CAT scans, start looking.
See you later.
Because pattern recognition is where the AI is really strong.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to compete with a robot that's going to be able to analyze 200,000 scans per second. You're not going to be able to compete. Same thing with like, so exactly, accounting, especially like anything that's related to pattern recognition is essentially going to be replaced. I do believe that.
No longer will you need someone to be solving a Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds. Shiny disco ball.